Hello composition, I'm just traveling back from my vacation today, so I will see you guys tomorrow. In class today I'm going to have you guys watch this video, take some notes, and then work on a packet of combining sentences. Today we're going to take a look at the three different types of verbal phrases. You've learned these your freshman and sophomore year, so I'm going to do a very quick review, and then I'm going to ask you guys to, in a worksheet, actually use the phrases to combine your sentences. Our ultimate goal here is to use the phrases to increase our sentence variety in both our sentence structure and our sentence beginnings. This is something you're going to be asked to do in all of your essays. So don't think that these phrases are ever going to go away for you. If we will begin with participial phrases, you can remember that a participial phrase is a verbal phrase, which means it's a word that we would normally call a verb but acts differently. Participials are verbs that are acting as adjectives. So running on the ice is describing in this sentence, I slipped and fell. Running is a word that we would say is a verb. It's something you do. But here, it's describing the subject I in the sentence. So it's acting not as a verb, but as an adjective. You'll remember there's two different types of participial phrases, past and present. Past participials are the ones that end in ed or are irregularly formed, like taken by my father or improved by the architect. Present participials end in ing. And if you'll remember, gerunds also end in ing, so to tell the difference, you have to realize that participles, since they're just adjectives, can be taken out of the sentence and the sentence will still be a complete sentence. Now, it's important to talk about comma use when we talk about phrases because you're going to be using them to combine sentences. If you use a participial in a sentence, you really should set it off with commas, especially if it's used to introduce a sentence. So take a look at this example. Walking home from school, comma, Sarah saw a bracelet on the ground. On your test, commas will be something I'm asking you to pay attention to because this is a major error that you guys make both in your writing and on the ACT test. Even if the participial is in the sentence, you can put commas around it. Sarah, comma, walking home from school, saw a bracelet on the ground. Now, the second type of verbal phrase is a gerund. And if you remember, gerunds are verbal phrases that act as nouns, so they can be any of the things that nouns can be in a sentence. Subject, object of a prep, direct or indirect object, or a predicate nominative. Gerunds always end in ing, but because they're nouns, they cannot be taken out of the sentence. So if we look at this example, Tim Berners-Lee is known for inventing the World Wide Web. If we took out the gerund, inventing the World Wide Web, we'd be left with Tim Berners-Lee is known for. That's not a complete sentence, so that's how I can tell that it's a gerund. So like I said, those participles that are present also end in ing, so you have to make sure that you try to take the phrase out to tell if it's a gerund or a participial. Participles can be parted with, gerunds cannot. As far as commas go for gerunds, you do not want to separate a gerund from any part of the sentence with a comma. Because it's a noun, it's necessary. We wouldn't separate the subject and the verb of a sentence with a comma, so we wouldn't separate a gerund from any other part of the sentence either. Moving on to infinitive phrases. Infinitives are the easy ones to find because they always begin with to plus a verb, but they're harder to work with in the sentence because they can function as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. So here's an example of each. Woods was the first person to work with charity organizations. That's describing the person. To give something back to society is working as the noun. It's a subject of that sentence. And then the last example, to help people in need, is working as an adverb describing why they are willing. Now, for infinitives, we typically do not set them off by commas unless, of course, they're an introductory element to the sentence. So, if the infinitive is acting as an adverb and beginning the sentence, you would use a comma, but that's about the only time you will. And again, be careful because to is also a preposition. Make sure that the infinitive is to plus a verb, and then it's an infinitive. Now, for the rest of the hour, I want you to work on these worksheets, combining sentences using these phrases and putting the phrases at the beginning of the sentence as much as possible to vary your sentence beginnings.